Hey everyone, welcome back to the JavaScript course. So inside this video, we'll be exploring about the JavaScript hoisting. And if you find this interesting, let's get started right away. So in this video, we'll be exploring about the JavaScript hoisting process. So inside my VS Code, I've opened up my index.html file and my style.css file as well as my script file. So there is some basic boilerplate code present inside my index file and some basic styling given to the style.css file and a basic console.log message inside my script file. Okay. So now let's start exploring about the hoisting process inside of JavaScript. So even before that, let's understand what happens on the backend part of it. That is how exactly the code runs. Okay. So we have like basically two kinds of phases that occur. Okay. That is basically the first one is going to be the creation phase that's going to occur. And after that, we have the execution phase. So this execution phase is necessary and it is useful for executing our code line by line that is present inside of our script file. Okay, so it executes the code line by line. Okay, so now let's understand the hoisting process that occurs. So the hoisting process is going to occur during the creation phase. So what it does is the JavaScript engine that is present, it is going to move basically the function declarations as well as the variables to the top of our code. Okay, so that's the thing, that's how hoisting occurs, and this process is called as hoisting. So we'll understand this with the help of a better example. Whereas inside the execution phase, the JavaScript engine starts to run the code line by line that is present inside of the script file. Okay, so for the example of hoisting, let's say we are just console.logging a number value that is present. So on line number 6, we are trying to access the number value even before initializing it, as we can see. Okay, over here, after trying to access the value, we are gonna initialize it. Okay, we're gonna say var num equals to 10. So on line number 8, after trying to access this particular variable num, we are initializing it over here. So let's guess what is going to be the output. Is it going to be 10 or is it going to give an error? Okay, so let's save the file. So if you check out the console, it should give us undefined in the console. Okay, but why is it giving undefined? Why not 10 or any error? So it should actually cause an error, right? Because we are even trying to access this number even before initializing it. Okay, so we are actually getting undefined because of the hoisting process in JavaScript. So what the JavaScript engine does is it actually moves this kind of variable declarations to the top of a code. That is basically during the creation phase, that is even before executing the code, this process is going to take place. So basically all the function declarations and all the kinds of variable declarations are moved to the top of our code, and this process is exactly called as hoisting. Okay, so JavaScript engine, let's see how it transforms this code. Okay, so these two lines of code is essentially transformed into this way. Okay, it's going to be var number, and after that it's going to say console.log of num, and after that we are going to initialize it. Okay, which is going to be var num equals to 10. Okay, so JavaScript engine sees the code like this. So firstly it moves this variable declarations to the top of a code, and after that we have console.log of number, and then we are initializing it. So what happens in the creation phase is it allocates memory for the function declarations as well as the variables that is present, and it allocates the value of undefined to the variables inside of the creation phase. So essentially when JavaScript comes across this var number, it's going to allocate undefined to it. So undefined. So after that we are console.logging of number. So number is holding a value of undefined, right? So that's the reason in the console.log we are getting undefined as the result. So after that we are initializing the value of 10 to the number. So if you try to console.log now, we are going to get 10 in the console because the number variable is holding the value of 10. Okay, so let's pretty much remove this, or let's just save it and check it out, right? Yeah, so we are getting 10 in the console. So that's the way this works. That is basically the hoisting process. Okay, so now let's look into the let and const variable. Okay, so we're going to say console.log of, let's say, x. Okay, and we're going to say let x equals to 5. Okay, so now let's see what is going to be the output. Is it going to give an error, or is it going to be 5, or is it going to be undefined as in the previous case? Okay, so this time it's going to give us a reference error, which is going to be we can't access x before initialization. So let's check that out. Okay, so there you go. We are getting a reference error which says, of course, cannot access X before initialization. So this happens because this is hoisted. That is the let variable is hoisted, but it is not initialized. So basically, the let variables are hoisted in something called as a temporal dead zone. Okay, so we'll not go so deep into that part. We'll just look into that. Okay, so that's the way we are getting this kind of error. That is basically the reference error. So let's try that out for the next thing. That is the next kind of variable, basically the const variable. So we're going to say const wife equals to 50. Okay, let's pretty much console this, console.log, or comment that out. So let's save the file. So again, for the y variable, is it going to be undefined or 50 or a reference error again? So in this case also we're going to get a reference error which says we can't access y before initialization, as you can see over here. So this again happens because this kind of variable, that is the y, is a const variable and it is hoisted but it is not initialized during the creation phase. So that's the reason we are getting basically the reference error. Okay, so that's the way the hoisting process occurs inside of JavaScript. Okay, we looked into the var number, okay, the var kind of variables, how we can hoist them, and we also looked into the let and const kind of variable. So basically they are hoisted in something called as temporal dead zone. Okay, so I think that's it about the hoisting video. Let's see you in the next video, and then thank you for watching.